This is Westminster Cathedral, Britain's biggest Roman Catholic church, Catholic HQ for England and Wales. It's known as the Mother Church of the Catholic community, and one of the paradoxes of the Catholic faith is that a church that is so famously patriarchal has such a strong feminine presence, not just in the figure of the Virgin Mary, but in the fact that it's mainly women who fill its pews. I spent the summer of 2011 at the cathedral, meeting the women who come and go, its staff, volunteers, and congregation, talking to them about how Catholicism shapes women's lives.
It was fast. It's rapidly losing time. They're launched. Are you coming out or staying in?
Staying in.
Staying in. Right.
Sorry, I know it sounds really corny, but do you come here often?
I do, yes. We come here every Sunday for Mass, and I try and come to daily Mass when I can, when it fits in with the kids, but yeah.
Is this your parish?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Why do you feel the need to come every day, if possible?
Because I love coming to Mass. Yeah, I love coming to Mass. It's part of my makeup, I guess.
Are you born Catholic, cradle Catholic?
Yeah, born and raised Catholic, yeah.
Catholic school?
Catholic school, Catholic family, very strong Catholic identity.
What's at the heart of that identity for you, being Catholic?
Well, I suppose at the heart of it is a relationship with Christ and with Our Lady, and that's just how I was raised. So for me, coming into a Catholic church is a bit like coming home. So I feel like I've got Catholic bones.
I was following Buddhism for 10 years and I was quite happy with that, but there was just something missing, and when I went to Mass, it just felt like the Eucharist was such an important part of the faith, and receiving the bread, which is supposed to be the body of Christ, which I believe is the body of Christ. And I just had this feeling of the beauty of the church. There was so much truth in it. It just guided me here. So I'm really happy about becoming a Catholic.
I'm here because it's my grandma's anniversary of when she died. It's something that I do every year. My mum puts a Mass in every year for my grandma's anniversary. I was very close to her, and so today my mum went to Mass this morning. Because I'm just round the corner from work, I nip in and go to Mass. It makes me feel a lot closer with my grandma, gives me that time just to think about her, and it also makes me feel like I'm brought closer to my mum.
I didn't even tell my parents that I was going to become a Catholic. I saw my dad recently, and as we parted, he said, stay away from those Catholics, with a smile. And my mum, I told my mum that I was going to become a Catholic, and she said with a big sigh, well, it's better than a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon, I suppose.
Welcome, Father. It's not too loud outside today, is it? It was very bad the other day when they were digging the original hole. There's one more on its way. Fabulous. Right, we've got the next one ready. We know who the priest is.
Okay. It's like running a train station.
I always say that to people. Just like getting a goods train ready. Out the door, and then in comes the next one.
How did you get into all this?
I'm a volunteer sacristan at my own church, and my priest is always saying to me, I'm going to get you promoted one day, Rose, and go up the cathedral. That was 4 years ago, and it's just gone like that. It's amazing. But this place is never dull. The time goes really quickly. But of course, you're hitting us on our quiet time at the moment. It's August, and the choir's gone away, and a lot of other people have gone away. So our masses, there's no singing, and they're quite plain and straightforward. So it's nice and quiet.
Is that how you like it?
I must admit, I do like the big occasions when, you know, everything's going on. You all right, Father? You want your mass? There's a. Did you see my note?
No.
There's a little mass booked for the crypt at 12 o'clock, but they haven't turned up yet. So do you want to go and do your quietly anyway?
Cool, sorry.
All right, you're okay with that?
Yes.
All right, dear.
I'll go down.
Right, but just be aware that they might turn up and start celebrating mass around you. All right? You're welcome. That's Father Sawyer. He always goes and does a mass in the crypt.
For who?
The deceased priest of the diocese, so he's on his own down there. Just had a priest celebrating earlier. At least he hung his alb on a hanger. Priests always turn up to celebrate, and they've got nothing with them, no alb, cincture, nothing, so we can always provide everything that they need. They're normally on holiday and they just ring the bell. Can I come in, they say.
Are you a cradle Catholic?
Pardon?
Were you brought up Catholic?
No, I wasn't, no. I converted when I was about 27, 28, just before I got married.
Did you convert to get married?
I always felt there was something missing somewhere, and I could never put my finger on it. And it's just like you do one rainy afternoon, you sit down, you chat away to your mum about Nanny and all the rest of it. She said, oh, she was a Catholic. I'm going, really? Really? And, but obviously she met, fallen in love with this young man, got married, etc. And he was Church of England, so she'd just gone along, brought the children up as Church of England, so that's what my mother was. But my mother never wanted to convert to the Catholic faith, but that's her choice, that's fair enough. Gone now, unfortunately. Very sad.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Happy is the Blessed Virgin Mary, who, without dying, won the palm of martyrdom beneath the cross of the Lord. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from
Is this your parish church?
Yes, it is my parish church, and every Catholic is connected to the cathedral of the church.
Were you brought up in England, Dorothy?
I was brought up in Nigeria. My two grandmothers, they gave us that impact that God is present in the church. So the very moment we enter the church, we have that instinct in us that God is somewhere watching you. God is somewhere looking at you.
Lord, I am not worthy that you should enter under my roof, but only say a word, and my soul shall be healed.
There's sometimes when I feel I have sinned, I have done something very wrong. And once I come into the church, I can't help myself but cry. I just keep crying, and keep crying. And before I leave that day, after the cry and prayer, by the time I leave the church, I feel something very heavy has been lifted off me. I feel that joy in me. I feel that happiness in me that no man can ever give to you.
Well, does that mean that everything that you experience elsewhere in life, friendships, relationships, are all inadequate?
God is the only one
when you come into his presence, no matter how depressed you are, no matter how happy you are, no matter your feeling, when you come into his presence and you pour out that feeling to him, he has a way of putting you together, which no man will do for you.
Are you single?
Yes.
Always been single?
Not really. I've not always been single. I'm not married yet, but I had a relationship, probably didn't go well, and now I'm single, hoping to be married very soon.
I walk quite fast when I'm off on my travels. I must do about 6 miles in a day. That's on a quiet day. Just up and down, up and down. We didn't need any hosts there, the tabernacle's obviously full. We didn't use much wine, so I can go back. The plants get the holy water. Do very well, those plants.
What happens to the unused wine?
That's consumed out on the sanctuary. That's not been consecrated, that one there. No. When it's poured into the chalice and prayed over, then it's consecrated. Because it's not wine anymore, it's blood.
What is that?
It's blood then, isn't it? It's the blood of Christ.
One
So it has to be consumed, yes, definitely.
Is that something you understood instinctively when you became Catholic? Did you struggle with that?
I think you do, don't you?
What, you struggle?
I think you do to start with, yes. But then, as a Church of England Christian, you're taught the same thing, not quite as intensively as with the Catholic faith. I think the children have trouble with that, don't they? Because when's the first time they have wine? The sacred blood. It's got to be their first Holy Communion, hasn't it? So they have their lessons then. I don't think they totally understand what's happened. But they just grow into it.
Do you understand?
I accept it, yes. Yes, I do, yes. It's very important. So that when it's been consecrated is either consumed or it's poured back in the soil. Always goes back to the soil, see?
What happens in there? Is it the treasure chest?
It is, yes. Do you want a quick look? I don't see why you shouldn't.
Don't show me the combinations.
Ah. It's all our, what I call everyday things in here. Various chalices and holy water buckets and crits and all sorts of things in here. Wedding registers. One or two of the priests' private chalices. All sorts of things in here.
And you're responsible for it? You look after everything in here?
Yes, yeah, and we often have to pull stuff out if we've got a big mass on, chrism mass like at Easter. We do mass for about 700 priests. So
Amazing.
it is. That's what this place is built for, nice big occasions.
This is still known as the architect's room. it's an archive that gets used a lot, which you see from the drawings. This one is the full-sized details of the apse of the Lady Chapel.
Is the Lady Chapel just kind of like, the cathedral presumably is built around its altar?
Oh, the main altar, yes, but devotion to Our Lady is a very central part of of any Catholic church. At one point, it was considered to be that which distinguished a Catholic church from, say, an Anglican, except for a High Anglican church. This, for instance, that's some decorative detail there. A Catholic church will show devotion to Mary as the Mother of God. So an essential, in fact, there's plenty of theology that says that says she's a co-redemptrix, that in fact she was, without her, there would have been no Jesus, because he wouldn't have been born. She had to give her permission. She had to say yes when told by Gabriel that she was appointed, as it were, to be the Mother of God. She had to say yes. So there was a little movement in the 60s and 70s, possibly before that, to say, well, Mary should be. And a friend of mine scurrilously said she was fourth Trinity. She's the fourth member of the Trinity. Didn't think she meant it seriously. That's the flooring. I'll show you that one because that's the layout of the flooring.
Is that how you see Mary then, as a woman who took on a task?
Oh, an incredibly strong woman. As far as she was concerned, that whatever had to be done, had to be done. And the fact that she was so calm under all this, hang on a minute, I'll go and think about this, but there was just come, let it be done unto me according to the word. This is whatever you want to do, I'm your handmaid. Just do it. And this is such a strong thing to be, and she kept this all the way through. I'm
confused, but maybe it's just because I'm a bloke. Why is that a sign of strength? You could interpret that completely opposite.
Yes.
It's entirely a sign of passivity. I'll do whatever you want.
You could indeed, yes, but she she doesn't give out the idea of being a passive woman. She would have had the struggle under those circumstances. She'd have looked puzzled. She'd have been worried. She'd have been thoughtful. She'd have been concerned, because if she did this, I'm going to be pregnant. I don't know if he's going to look after me. What's going to happen? There was no concern about it, because she had given her life over to God, and she had, as far as we are told, up to that time, I mean, it's always difficult to know factually, there are no facts, it's a question of belief, but that she had lived a devout life. But I do get such a strong feeling of femininity, of strong femaleness from Mary. And this is one of the attributes of women, I feel, that hasn't perhaps been acknowledged all the way through the church by any means, because the functional side has been carried out by the disciples, and of course Christ was a man. But complementing this was this great strength that comes from Mary.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
To Lourdes.
We might have it in the back. Sometimes we have the forms. Tax travel. I'll write the number down for you.
Lovely, thank you.
Have you been to Lourdes?
No. Haven't been to any shrine. But hopefully next year, my niece has bought a little place that she's doing up in the Pyrenees. So I'll go on a day trip, just to go. I haven't even been to Walsingham.
You brought up a Catholic? You're a cradle Catholic?
Yes, I'm a cradle Catholic, yeah.
Do you have Catholic education as well?
Yes,
No.
yes. Butterflies.
Butterflies?
Yes. You know, the Sisters of Charity, we call them the butterflies, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
Happy memories?
Very. I loved it. But we didn't send our daughters to convent school. We sent them to Catholic school, but not convent.
For any particular reason?
I just kind of wanted them to have a broader view of life, you know. I felt we were somewhat sheltered.
You weren't encouraged to question?
No, not at all. No. Blind obedience and blind faith. No, we weren't. No. But it's very different. For all you at school, it must have been very different. I mean, you can question and argue when they want you to now, don't they? But we were indoctrinated, definitely. We were told, you're up there on a pedestal and you don't let anybody knock you off it, you know. Stay pure. And yes.
For being Catholic?
Yes. Yeah, and that we prayed for our separated brethren in my youth.
Your separated brethren?
That's what we prayed for, our separated brethren. In other words, those who weren't following us. Well, when I say pedestal, it was the sisters who would say, you know, that you're pure. That's really what they were implying, and that you're up on that pedestal, and it's only the things that you're going to, the temptations in life that could knock you off that pedestal. So you need to keep yourself pure and holy.
Was this all about sex?
Yes, of course it was. Everything was about it, wasn't it really, though? It wasn't referred to. This wasn't referred to.
So what happened when you get to, you know, age of being interested in boyfriends and things? What do you just run away from that?
Yes, kind of. Well, I think it's when you leave school, really. It's when I left school and, you know, hit the student theme, then you realise you've led a very sheltered life. Some go wild and some can temper it a little bit. You know? And so many, I feel, of my era got married simply because they wanted to sleep together, wanted to have sex. That was the only way. And if they did, if they did have sex outside marriage, it was really kept quiet. You would never openly say you'd lived with somebody or spent the night with somebody. You just wouldn't do it. So it must have affected us all of those who went through that form of rigid Catholicism that we were taught in the 40s and 50s. And I think so. Definitely. I do, yes. Somewhere where nobody knows me.
Do you find it helpful?
I do, yes. It's good to get your conscience cleared. Say that you're really sorry. But I don't go anywhere that I know the priests. I think it's better to be anonymous.
What are these? They're the stoles?
Yes, the priest always wears that when he's hearing confession.
And you have to wash them, do you?
Well, send them to the dry cleaners, yeah. Just having a look at the back of their neck. No, because it gets all black and sweaty. Well, you know, people perspire.
Even priests?
They do. They're human as well.
Lots of people come here, don't they?
Oh, they do. Very, very popular.
Why do you think that is?
Because Our Lady needs a lot. You see how her foot's nice and shiny and clean, so everybody touches it. All the statues have got clean feet. I do, yes. Well, she's a woman and a mum, so we've all got the same problems. So she understands when you're having trouble.
So sort of connecting with her makes life easier, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yes. You feel there's someone there watching out for you, definitely. How you doing, Dora? Do you need any more boxes? Oh, good.
Baptism and confirmation make him your faithful follower and a witness to your gospel.
What's your connection with the cathedral?
I think I've been coming here since about 1963. I've been through 4 cardinals and about 10 administrators.
Are you here every day?
Almost here every day.
You were brought up a Catholic, I assume.
I was cradle Catholic, but we weren't. My father was an Irish Catholic, which meant you go to Mass just after the Gospel. That suffices. It was only when I was 20, my brother was diagnosed with cancer. The first thing I did was went to pray. And since then, that's why I'm so staunch now. It helped through a very difficult time because David was the nearest brother to me. It was like tearing half of you out. And of course, the family went through a traumatic experience as well. So ever since then, I've been grateful for the gift I have. And I've never wavered. I think faith is one of the important things. Health is important. I mean, I had to have cancer at one point, 10 years ago. And I sort of said, I didn't panic. I thought, well, if I'm going to survive, I will. But I didn't worry about it. People said to me, how can you be so calm? I said, well, it's the fact of life. If I'm meant to survive, then I will. I did. So I think in all situations, if you can turn to prayer, it does help you through. So that's why I'm very grateful for the gift of faith, because life has many difficulties. And I think without prayer, I could never cope. It's a long story now, but when my brother David was born, my mother already had 5 children. And she went to the priest and said, look, I have 5 children. The last child is sickly. Please, can I use contraception? And the priest said, no, you should go out to multiply. So my mother had 3 more children she couldn't cope with. And I think we felt the brunt of that. When David had died, she said, I'm terribly sorry I neglected you all. You know, it was an awful thing to put on somebody, to go and have children she knew she couldn't cope with, and then feel guilty afterwards.
Did that make you feel there's something wrong in Catholic teaching?
Yes, I think so. I think people shouldn't be forced to have babies. I think, you know, if I was in my mother's stage, I would say to God, I'm sorry, God, I've had 5 children. I honestly can't cope with more. I think it was wrong to blunt somebody with that on their conscience, to feel guilty for the rest of her days, having 3 more children. So I think it's a case of using your own strength with God. If you think it's wrong in yourself, tell God rather than go to a priest who hasn't the influence in your... I mean, I'm not condemning the priest because they have to do what they say, but I think if you've got a tune with God and you feel it's right with him, then go ahead, because it's making 3 children that are really unbalanced in a way. And that's why we missed out on something. But by the grace of God, we've got through all right.
Have you got any particular connection with the cathedral?
It is, I suppose, my local parish church, if one can demote it to a church. But I'm within the catchment area. It would be my parish church. Actually, when I was a medical student at Westminster, the old Westminster Hospital, we used to get special seats at the big masses, like Christmas Eve and things like that. But
Did you,
that stopped.
and you used to attend?
Oh yes. They used to have reserved, in the balcony, they used to have spaces for nurses and medical students.
Do you ever attend now? Do you attend Mass?
Yeah, I do. I feel a great attachment to the church and would call myself Catholic, but I really could not uphold various of the teachings at all. Particularly things like contraception, and much more recently the various edicts on AIDS and the management of AIDS in Africa and things, which I very strongly disagree with. And also I find it very, very difficult to come to terms with the recent paedophilia problems. And you reach a point when you know that that's not acceptable to the church, but you don't want to leave the church. But the only way you can accept it is by trying to differentiate from the actual faith and the actual institution and the actual people in it, which are not all really synonymous.
What's the Catholic bit of you? Is it belief in God? Is it?
I think the belief in Christianity, rather, yes, God and Christianity, and in the moral grounding that it gives you, which is very, not that one wants to shake it off, but it's very ingrained almost, and a very very prominent sense of do as you would be done by, and a moral code that's very useful in the sort of chaos and turmoil of life.
I come to the cathedral most weekdays to light a candle. On Saturday and Sunday, if I'm in London, I go to Mass at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Why are you lighting a candle?
I have family with cancer, and I've always done it anyway, and my grandchildren don't live near, so it's just a way of talking to God. I don't say it in prayers. I say it, please look after, and things like that. I have 6 grandchildren and 2 daughters, and I'm one of a family of 5, so we have quite a few problems and quite a lot of happy things, So just a way of talking to someone, to be perfectly honest. My husband died 11 years ago, and I find a great deal of comfort and solace of coming to church, but I was brought up a Catholic, you see.
Have you always practiced?
Not when I was living with my second husband, Ken. When I was young, I thought you had to follow it to the last letter, and as you get older, you realise nobody does. The priests don't, the bishops don't, and some of the popes were downright evil. So, who made those rules? And there's now talk of the Pope saying that women can practice birth control, which I always did anyway, so that's why I'm not a good Catholic. And I never followed in that blind way, ever, not even when I was young.
But did that leave you feeling you weren't a good Catholic?
Yeah, I'm not a good Catholic. If you ask me, if you ask me what I am, I'm a Catholic, but I'm not a good Catholic. I'm definitely not a devout Catholic.
When you come to communion, do you receive communion?
No,
you
I don't.
Mass,
You don't receive communion out there. I couldn't go out and take communion without going to confession.
You've been to confession throughout your life?
I did up until I was about, say, 30, yeah. Now I wouldn't dream of going to confession and going to communion. The main reason being that my second husband, I married him. I divorced. My first husband left me, and he'd been gone 8 years, and I divorced him and married Ken. So according to the church, I was never married to Ken, and I could never, ever deny that. I had 7 wonderful years with Ken. I didn't feel I was doing anything wrong at all. So I can't come now and go to confession and say, for 7 years I was living in sin with Ken because we hadn't been married in the church. So, and then you look back to the old days and they used to let the stars suddenly have this little thing that they would absolve their marriage so they could get married in church. So it seemed to me if you were wealthy enough and well-known enough, you could bend the rules.
Does that leave you angry?
Not angry, just a bit cross, not terribly angry. I just thought, well, you do what you want in life. You have to make your own decisions in life about everything.
It seems to be something that a lot of women have expressed, that have to go through that annulment.
Yes, and that's a nonsense, isn't it? You've slept together, whether you annul it or not, you've slept together. So either you see that as a sin or you don't, and I don't, to be perfectly honest. I don't believe in promiscuity, but that's up to people themselves too. So I've only had 2 husbands and that's it. And I couldn't say I was sorry for either one of them. I love them both. I've been a very fortunate person. If you've been a good person, if there is a God, he'll know if you have. And if there isn't, it doesn't matter much, does it?
Does the thought of a heaven comfort you in any way? Or?
I find it hard to believe in. I just find it hard to believe in. My sister says it'd be dead boring. She said, I'd rather go down below. They might have parties and drink and what have you. But I really can't envisage it. That's the truth of the matter. I really can't. I don't know if you can, but I can't.
The body of Christ. The body of Christ. Body of Christ. The body of Christ. The body of Christ.
Tell me, why are you here today?
Well, we're here to see Billy Elliot. It's a day trip for both of us. And while we was passing through, I said I'd like to go and look at this church because I think it's a Catholic church. And I'm drawn in with the atmosphere and all the bits around you. The paintings, I find, always when I go on holiday, I look around Catholic. Well, any churches that are lovely. Yeah, and I thought I'd take Daisy to see it as well. I didn't force her, and she said, oh, shall we go inside? So we did, didn't we? Yeah. And that's why.
Are you Catholic?
Yes, but I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore. But I can pray at home whenever I like. I can go to any church because I only believe there's one God anyway. So, yeah. I was brought up a Catholic. Went to a Catholic school. So it doesn't mean to say you're going to carry on.
So what happened? Why did you stop?
My brother died. And my parents, my mum especially, didn't get over it. And the church and the priest just didn't answer the questions correctly. That I thought, well, why take somebody away that is so loved? And they didn't give me right answers. So I sort of started to feel a bit bad. It's hard to explain to people because in your heart, you know there's still something there. Like when I go to churches like this, I get quite emotional. I always feel I'm in a bit of a limbo, but I feel I want to do something, but I'm not sure what track I want to go down. I don't think I'll ever go to what I was brought up, because I think it was a thing, you've got to do it. Like you had to go to church on different days, and you dared not go. Until you got a bit older, and then I sort of told Daisy, I sort of went in to show my face and then disappeared out. Which sometimes I used to think, oh, if my mum found out or my dad found out, but perhaps they did know, you know.
So there. After Vespers tonight, I will put these out in the chapel. Don't let me forget that, because they've got to be alight all day tomorrow and they won't last.
They stay alight all day because
they do, because it's the Assumption, yeah, and it's the Feast of Our Lady. So we leave a Can't lose a light all day. Look at these people putting flowers in. It's nice, isn't it?
The assumption is the day she went to heaven.
You celebrate her death, her burial, and when she ascends to heaven. Yes, all in the same day. Yes. So there.
I thought she didn't die.
Well, she must have died in some respect, mustn't she? Risen and gone up to heaven, yes. Well, she wouldn't have a burial, would she? How did Father Swavic put it? Let's have a look. It's in the newsletter. So all the priests take it in turns to write the front of these. It commemorates Our Lady's death and burial, her rising to life, her passover from this world, and then her assumption into heaven. There we are, amidst the rejoicing of all the angels and saints. There you are. That's come from the boss. That's my favourite one. Ooh. Dresses for the girls.
And what are these ones?
These are two very old and rather gorgeous chasubles, which has its solemnity tomorrow. We get out all the nice things. And this is a cope, what we call a Marian cope. The blue again on the white for Mary. That's rather gorgeous.
And who wears that tomorrow? The priest
That's the priest that says prayers.
Is that very old?
Well, I think that's about 100 at least. Most things around here are. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Rather gorgeous. Very heavy.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
There are vegetables stored everywhere.
It is quiet at the moment, unusually quiet.
And why is that?
I don't know. Because the schools are back, so, you know, and everybody's back at work, so it should be quite busy. And usually once we open the front door, the main door, they all start coming in.
Right. Oh, yeah, it does feel
It draws people in, yes.
How long have you been doing it, Jenny? I can't remember.
About 6, I think, 5, 6 years. Yes, 5 or 6.
Why did you start?
Because this was my little haven. I used to come here when I first came 7, 8 years ago. I used to come walk from Battersea to the cathedral and find a nice little spot and just sit there.
Well, when you first came to London?
To London, yeah. Because it's the first time I'd lived on my own, and I just used to come and sit in here just after my husband had left me. And I came over from Waterford to be here with my daughters. So I came to live here only because of my daughters, because they both live here.
Were you surprised to find yourself coming to the cathedral, or did you? I mean, was in that time of difficulty.
No, I purposely came here. Because I hadn't been for a long time, years and years and years, but I knew it had made a big impression on me. So I just came, and I knew that it would be open. So that's why I started coming and getting involved.
Did you speak to the priest?
No. Didn't speak to anybody. No, I just came and sat. I could just come and sit and nobody bothered me, and I could just sit and reflect, and then I could go home and feel a little bit refreshed. And I know you can sit in the park and reflect and whatnot, but somehow here it's conducive to it for me to get the train of thought going and just thinking about life. And I mean, not wallowing, just sitting.
Praying?
Not praying as such, because now I believe that you can, you really just have to sit and try to empty your mind. And that's what the fathers in the desert did. They didn't have to go to Mass or do anything, just sat in the desert and meditated. And that's what I think that's when you get really near to God, I think. The more time you take out for silence, when you can push it out and just sit quietly and meditate. And not meditate on something, just empty your mind if you can. Empty your mind. That's what I try to do.
I don't know which saints these are. There's quite a lot of different ones in there.
You actually see the bits.
Yes, yes, that's where they live, in there. The relics, yes.
The relics.
All bones and hair and various relics from the saints. Okay. There's 6 of them normally, but the other 4 are out on the high altar. Yeah, that's what they look like inside.
So do you know what we're looking at?
The earthly remains, I suppose. I don't know if the rest of them are elsewhere. Every church has got a relic of some sort. That says Mary Magdalene, that one. Some have got whole bodies, haven't they? Heads.
But does it mean it's a big Catholic tradition, isn't
It is, yes, yes. There's 3 trips to put these all on the altar. There we go.
And they're there for all the feast days?
Yes, yes, the very big ones.
And is this a favourite of your feast days, Mary?
Yes.
Did you kind of instantly take to the whole relic business when you became a Catholic?
No,
Some
I
people
think
find
it
it
takes a
strange.
bit of getting used to, doesn't it? Takes a bit of getting used to.
How do you kind of understand it?
I don't know, it's just nice to remember these people and think that you've got a part of them that's with you somehow. But there we are. Jesus is the one that's with me, you know, he's always around when I need him. Right, we're going to leave them covered up till the Mass starts.
How often do you come to the cathedral?
Well, I've only just started to come because I haven't had the confidence to come all the way from Harrow. But now I'm going to try and come at least 2 or 3 times a week because I find this place I've been in enormous palaces and churches and things all over the world. And this is the only big building where as soon as you walk in, you feel it makes me want to cry. You feel a kind of warmth and a love. And it's an amazing feeling, this place. And it is so beautiful, you can't help but look at it and think, you know, just how great it is. I don't think I would have survived after the stroke without the church.
Really?
Because I was a lapsed Catholic for 60 years. And I went back to the church on December the 15th last year, and my whole life changed back to the security and the feeling of relaxation and calm that I had lost with the stroke, because with the stroke I felt like E.T., nothing was real.
Why did you lapse from Catholicism?
You know, that's an interesting question. I don't really know. I think it was, you know, the world in general, and I was traveling a lot, and there's such a lot of temptations then. Now I don't know how young people manage. And I used to feel, it was very strange. I didn't feel guilty. I should have felt I should be going to Mass today, but I mean, I missed the wonderful church music and things like that. But I lived for 4 years in Rome and never went to Mass once when I was there.
What were you doing?
I was in the fashion world. So I was doing some, you know, fashion work. But
And then you came back to England, did you, after that?
What?
You came back to England after that, did you?
Yes. But it's really weird. When I sit and pray now, I don't know how I survived without it for 40 years. I don't know how I survived. More than 40 years, 60 years.
But you were happy without it, were you? You've had a happy 40, 60 years without Catholicism?
Well, it was you see, hindsight is the only true eyesight. With hindsight, I don't think I was. I was always I was always looking for what was coming next. I wasn't enjoying the moment. I think that was the biggest difference.
And now you're back. Is the figure of the Lady, Our Lady, significant, a part of that return, or is it the figure of Christ hanging above us here?
No, I talk to Our Lady. It's the intercession bit. I'm not worthy after my checkered background to talk directly to God. So, dear Blessed Lady, will you intercede for me?
But you said to me a moment ago that you didn't feel guilty about being lapsed.
I didn't when it was going on. I have guilt complexes now. I've got guilt about things that I did to other people and the years I wasted, that I feel the years, because the 7 months since I went back to the church have been so glorious. I can't help but think that the 60 years would have been very different if I had been practicing. I think it was a Jesuit said, give me a child till they're 7, they'll be a Catholic for life. Thank goodness I was a Catholic at 7, because I have something at the end of my life. And I certainly couldn't have come to this wonderful place. Oh, it is beautiful, this place. It is so lovely.
When do you actually go to Mass? You're so busy running around.
11:30 on a Sunday morning is my favourite Mass time.
Is that an important moment of the week for you?
Yes, it is, yes. It's the one time, mind you, no, I don't sit there and nobody comes up to me and says, Rose, have you got a key? Rose, have you got this? Rose, can I have that? Rose, something else? No. It's, I'm on call there as well, but there we are. This is nice, isn't it?
Since you converted to Catholicism, which is many years ago now, isn't it?
It is. Don't say it like that.
Oh, I'm not going to ask you how many.
Choose the word. It's about 25, actually. Because it would have been my 25th wedding anniversary a couple of months ago.
You're divorced, eh?
I am now, yes.
When did that happen?
About 4 years ago.
And am I right in thinking you converted to be married, is that right? Or you converted at the time of marriage?
Yes. I thought if I'm going to get married, I want to have a nuptial mass and do it as a Catholic.
How have you found it, being divorced in the Catholic Church? Is that a tricky journey?
No, because people have been very caring, and people I didn't know very well have been very supportive and very caring, and it's been really, and my priest was fantastic. He was always there when I needed him. He'd always say, you know, ring me in the middle of the night if you wake up and you really need to talk to somebody and things like that. So he was very, very good. Very good. But anyway, let's not dwell on that. I don't really want to think about that. Oh, it's got a little pocket and everything in here. Look, it's got a handbag. It's got a handbag.
I've got a final question.
Go on.
As we get older, does faith become more or less important in life, do you think?
I think it depends what happens to you in your life. I think elderly people, as they're getting near to their death, perhaps they start thinking about it more as they're going to meet their maker at some stage. But I think it depends what happens in your life, doesn't it? Yeah. It's not the same for everybody. Well, I think I went through a stage, I hit rock bottom in my life, and I've got this strange idea that by giving me a job here, he's sort of taken me and said, Rose, I'll put you in head office, I can hold your hand and keep an eye on you. And I think that's rather nice, so that's why I'm here. So there we are. As I say, it's different for different people.
Why are you in a Catholic tonight?
It's a feast day, isn't it?
Shouldn't you be in blue?
In blue? Why blue?
Because it's ladies'
That's
day.
for nuns, isn't it, blue? No. If you're out on sanctuary on a feast day, you always have to have a cassock on. Yes.
Sometimes people like to see Our Lady as being so very meek and mild. I am the handmaid of the Lord, taken to extremes. Others react against this and try to envisage her as a steely Middle Eastern woman with barely a trace of femininity. Each of us will have our own image of Our Lady, and I hope that there is room in that image for meekness and strength.
Right. There we are. Just a case of clearing up and going home now.